So there's been so many devices in Fortnite Creative, but which are the worst? In this video I'm going to run through some of the worst devices in Fortnite Creative because they're either useless, take up too much memory, or are very niche and not very useful in most maps. Let me know if I should do this for the best devices in Fortnite Creative, but anyway, let's just get straight into the video. Alright guys, so first I want to give an honourable mention to the OG Scoreboard device. This was a manual type of device that had 3 different jump pads on the front, and you could jump on them manually and it'd count up the score for either the red side or the blue side. Now this was really cool in the OG days of Fortnite when we didn't have as many channels and devices to make our own custom scoreboard, but now we do. So this device got phased out and they don't even allow you to have it anymore. If you do have it in your maps, consider yourself lucky, as no one can now place it down and you can only have it on old maps. So I suppose it's a flex to have this, but other than that, it's really old and it hasn't really stood the test of time, and they didn't really update it, so that's why it got removed. They didn't update it with channels, so it would automatically go up, and they also made it so you could only place it on tiles, and they never made it so you can place it anywhere on your map. The reason it's an honourable mention is because the OG Scoreboard is now not in the devices tab, and all the other devices I'm talking about in this video are. So yeah. Alright guys, so the first worst device on the list is the hover platform. You guys probably would have guessed this, but it takes up way too much memory, and it has that little rocket coming off beneath it, and that can get in the way of stuff and look bad if you don't want it to be there. A much better way to do it is using a terrain piece. If you just get a tiny terrain piece and place it, you can easily place stuff on top of that, and you don't really need to use the big hover platform, which takes up way too much memory. The terrain piece doesn't really take up much memory at all, and it's way better for memory consumption. Alright, so next we have the fishing rod barrel. This is a very niche device, and you're hardly ever going to use this in your maps unless you're doing a fishing map or a place where you do fish, maybe a battle royale map. But in most cases it's just better to place a fishing rod in an item spawner or item placer. It's just going to be a lot easier, and also it has a chance of dropping a harpoon gun and the fishing rod, so it's a bit of RNG with that, so it might just be better off knowing 100% what's going to spawn in a barrel. You could just make your own custom barrel, and you don't need to have this one that could be random, and you maybe don't want a harpoon gun in your maps. There's no real point of having a random spawn unless you're doing a BR map. This one's also probably expected, but we've got the sword in the stone. Now this is a pretty cool device, but it has a cool animation when you're pulling up the infinity blade out of the rock. But it takes up way too much memory for it to be worth it, in my opinion. It would be way better to just use an item placer or item spawner, unless you want that really cool animation of you pulling the sword out. But other than that, it just takes up way too much memory, and there's easier ways of putting a sword in your maps. Not to mention it's very niche. Not every map's going to have a sword in the map. Unless you're doing a free-for-all map or something like that. You're not going to have many times where a player needs to pull a sword out of a stone. Next up, we've got a device I feel like shouldn't even be in the game. This is because I feel like the settings on this device could easily be put into the island settings. Now this device is the Prop-O-Matic. This device lets you configure the prop gun's item, and you can change how long it takes to transform into the prop, how often the prop pings, and stuff like that. But I feel like this could easily be put into the island settings, such as the grappler. There's a setting in the island settings where you can have full damage or not. So why can't they do this with the prop gun? I feel like it's just wasted memory that they could have put in the island settings. But if you do have a prop gun on your map, then you may need to use this device. But also, once again, it's a very niche, and not every map's going to have a prop gun. Like, subscribe if you want to see more Fortnite creative videos like this. So this device is very niche once again, and it's the Firefly device. This is a device where you can walk up to it and interact with it, and there's lots of fireflies flying around, and if you hold your interact key, you can pick them up. Now, this is very niche, and not every map is going to need fireflies. And also, just put them in an item placer. It's probably less memory. I don't know if it is, but it probably is less memory. And the Firefly device is probably one of the least used devices in creative. So now we have the color changing tiles. Now, these could be very cool. I remember the Jordan collab, and they used these when you walked over them, they give you score. But that is one of the very little uses for this device. Not every map's going to need the floor to change colour all the time. Only used for very certain game modes, like that Jordan collab we had a long time back. It's way more memory than a normal floor, and unless you want that cool thing of the color changing, you don't really need to use it, as normal tiles are a lot less memory. Second to last on the list, we have the creeping cardboards. Now, firstly, this is a lot of memory just for a little cardboard that you can jump in. If you put a normal creeping cardboard item in an item spawner or item placer, that's going to be a lot less memory than placing down this box. Maybe you want it there from the game start and you don't want players to throw them down, but still, it's way too much memory for what it is, and I don't feel like it's a good enough trade-off. Not to mention, once again, you're seeing a trend here that most of these devices are very niche, and you're not going to use these in most maps. It's only for very certain use cases, such as hiding from something if you're sneaking around in a cardboard box, I don't know. Finally, guys, this is not really a bad device per se. I feel like it could be changed a little to make it a bit better. But I'd say the grinds, vine, and rail should be combined into one device. They shouldn't need to be two separate devices. It just takes up more memory than it needs to. They could have easily put both of these on the same device and had a setting where you could switch between them. I don't know why they are two separate devices, but that's just a little one to throw in there. If you need a grind, rail, or vine, then obviously, yeah, use it. But my only critique is that they should be combined, and you shouldn't need even more memory if you want to have both of them on your map. If I have missed any bad devices, then make sure to comment them down below and let me know if I should do a best devices video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, as we're pushing for 5k subs. Check out how to get more players on your maps here, but thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.